Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health? I am Dr. Dan from Toro Family Chiropractic, where we are going to be going over a wonderful health topic today called
Healing Takes Time. And I'm Angela with Toro Family Chiropractic. You forgot about me this time.
Forget about you. You're sitting right across from me.
It's all right. Well, let me do the little disclaimer that we got to do here. So we are here for informational purposes only, to have a discussion about health, in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always talk to your trusted healthcare provider before making any decisions related to your health. So with that being said...
You've never said that before, have you?
Never once. Definitely not today.
Rattle that off. It's ingrained in our brain forever now.
So with that being said, yeah, healing takes time. I think this is one that we both kind of, in the last week or two, seen a lot between patients I've been dealing with myself, and I think it was one that we thought it was time to talk about
healing.
Time to talk about healing and how healing takes time.
Fantastic. Yes, you have a very fantastic story and personal testimonial to this, and I want you to discuss that. But before we jump into this, I think that it is so important to understand that healing, health, we so often think of like, okay, we get a cut and that cut is healing. That's an event. We sprain an ankle, that takes time to heal. So we think of that as an event. So we start to get into this misunderstanding that health is episodic when it's not. Health and really healing is a lifelong journey. Every second of every day, our bodies are constantly in a state of breakdown, damaged, dead and damaged tissue, and replace it with new and healthy tissue. We talk a lot about this when we're just talking about the development of a human being. We talk about the intelligence of the body. I know I talk a lot about it in the first chapter of our book, but it's something as simple as skin cells sloughing off. Your skin cells only last a couple days, really, and then they start to slough off, and new ones are replaced, in their place. Blood cells, about every 90 to 120 days, blood cells circulate throughout the entire body. In fact, one blood cell can get through the entire body in about 1 minute, but they're just kind of going through and carrying oxygen, carrying nutrients.
That's why you can donate blood.
That's why you can donate blood
because
every 120 days. Because you've got replenishment of blood. Liver cells. You can grow an entire new liver in the matter of a couple months.
It's amazing what they can do now with partial liver transplants.
It's incredible. I have a colleague of mine who had severe liver disease. Had a liver transplant, and inside of a year's time went from like extremely sick, like jaundice, extremely yellow, like you look at him and he's
probably super tired, run down.
Significantly sick, like severe, like deathbed sick. To 1 year later, doing bodybuilding and it's just absolutely beautiful what the body can do. Heart cells, your joints, your immune system, which is part of your blood cells, your immune system, your bones. I mean, things just breaking down and building back up. It's been estimated that every 1 to 2 years, you've got a brand new body. And so healing is not episodic. Again, we think of it as, okay, we fell down, we broke a bone, we twisted an ankle, we have a cut, we woke up and my back went out. Like, we think of healing as episodic, but it really is a continuous cycle. Now, obviously, there are some events that would cause that cycle to be amplified. However, your body is continually in a state of breakdown and repair every moment of every day of your life until the day that your nervous system ceases to exist and your soul passes on from your physical body. So with that being said, I think it's so important to help us understand that when we talk about healing takes time, there's actually a principle in chiropractic. It's there's 33 principles that were developed by a doctor named Stevenson. With the help of the developer of chiropractic, B.J. Palmer, developed the 33 principles of chiropractic. And principle number 6 is all processes take time. And again, it's this idea of, we are constantly in this state of repair. Now we have episodes in our life that, that is amplified, but we have to understand, we get so stubborn in our ways sometimes, right? We get into these routines, we get into these health routines, right? It's like, I'm working out,
running every day,
I'm lifting, and you hear stories about this all the time. People making major lifestyle changes and, and again, they're doing really good. They're in the routine and now something happens that breaks that cycle, that breaks that routine. And now all of a sudden we incorrectly think that we're a failure and that we have to push through it. We got to push.
Yeah, no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. We got to push through that. And, I can't take any time off, or, oh my goodness, if I take any time off, I'm going to go right back to, my old ways, and I'm going to be right back into my unhealthy routine. And athletes are, I think some of the biggest, the worst,
literally the worst.
When doing this. But I think you Angela, have such a beautiful testimony to this principle that healing takes time, and that we have to listen. Again, signals in our body. It's another chapter. Geez, that's 2 references inside of 5 minutes. There's, we talk about the signals in our body and listening to those signals that our body has given us. Again, if you're an animal and you're outside, and you're an injured deer, you break a leg, or you sprain a leg. They don't get to take pain medication. There's no pain medication.
They don't pop a couple Advil and then go about their day.
Just keep doing it. It's like their Advil is their body's natural, normal, pain inhibition, and they lay down because there's hormones in their body telling them you need to lay down because you're in pain, and they're gonna limp because they're not supposed to use that leg because it needs to rest and heal. And yet we, in our stubbornness as human beings, right? We talk about our innate mind, which is kind of like the unconscious intelligence of the body. That's what's basically running all systems of the body. It's our heart beating, our lungs breathing, our digestion, our immune system. All of that is under automatic control. We never have to think about that. And then we have our educated mind, which is just such a microcosm of the amazing intelligence that's going on. And we think in our educated mind, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna beat nature. I'm gonna get through this, and I'm gonna outrun my healing, my health. And it's just not the case. And so I think your testimony, Angela, is going to be such so helpful to help people understand that you can't outdo nature. Our bodies are designed in a specific way, and the more we can align ourselves with the natural God-given gift of how our bodies are built, the more we can align ourselves with that, the better we're not just going to be to get through that specific episode, but to also set ourselves up for long-term health and healing. So why don't you talk a little bit about
what I'm going through?
That was a nice, a nice, gentle, deep introduction of the philosophy side of where we come from, but what you've been struggling with probably over the last several months.
This has probably been over a year now. Wow. I've been dealing with this.
Yeah.
So, and this is this comes perfect testament to what we talk about all the time, which is 1, listening to your body, and 2, getting to the actual root of the issue and the underlying cause of what is going on. And we talk about that all the time with people who come in. We understand that chiropractic is not the end all be all solution for everything. And that is where, we are one tool that you can use as part of your, wellness routine, as part of, correcting some of these issues. But there is there's a time that we realize, we can't fix everything. And again, what I've been going through, perfect example. So I've been training for a kickboxing fight for the last several months, and prior to this, I've been dealing with some back, kind of mild, slightly aggravating SI pain. So the SI is kind of like your hip. Yes, your hip, kind of the
Put
low
your
back.
hand in your back pocket, and
Yes,
basically
exactly.
the joint just inside of that is your SI joint.
Exactly.
Your ass joint.
Exactly.
I think that's the second episode in a row.
You've said that. You were, yes. Dan, Dr. Dan's feeling very feisty today. So I've been having some aggravating pain there for probably, again, a good year, at least since last summer. But nothing debilitating to my day-to-day life, nothing that just kind of, okay, yeah, that's, the results of the kind of training that I do. And then with the increased training, intensity of training, frequency of training, and then recently I had to start adding running into my routine 3 days a week, which I hate running. I continue to hate running to this day. But
side note,
I was told I had to run, so I ran. And all of a sudden it was to the point that, I was in excruciating pain, and I was losing, I didn't have the mobility in my hip, to the point that it was affecting my training. So, my trainer's correcting my form, and so you need to turn your hip over more in your kicks. And I was getting so frustrated because I kept saying, I can't. And I truly felt like that. I truly felt like there was something, I couldn't figure it out, but I just felt like my body wasn't moving the way that I wanted to. Again, there was some disconnect between that mind-body connection. I knew what I needed to do, I just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And I was doing, obviously I do chiropractic regularly, I was doing massage, I was doing acupuncture, infrared sauna, red light, ice bath, Epsom salt bath, you name it, I've done it. Yes, I've done every muscular therapy there is.
Vibration plate.
Yes, like on a regular basis, I do these things. I have a laundry list of things that I do just for muscle recovery to kind of help keep me going. Nothing was giving me relief in that. In
fact, I think your apartment is starting to look like the Pittsburgh Steelers
like a rehab center. It's actually, it might be rated one of the highest rehab centers in Bellevue. Honestly, and I'm happy to put my time and money into those things because, again, they work and they help and they keep me going. But nothing was giving me relief in this spot. And I have to give a shout out to Regeneration Pittsburgh in Wexford. I finally went there based off the referral of a patient and actually a couple people at the gym that I go to. And I went there thinking that, again, they were going to do some dry needling for some soft tissue kind of, again, I thought it was a muscular issue. Dr. Scott does an exam on me, and she just, based off spending maybe 5-10 minutes going through, talking to me, doing a physical exam. She's like, oh yeah, no, you have a tear in your labrum, in your hip. So for those who don't know, that's basically, your hip is a ball and socket joints. Yeah. So essentially the kind of the cartilage that helps keep the ball in the socket.
Yeah, it's very strong. The labrum is a very strong tissue that holds the ball into the socket.
Yes,
so if it's not there, it's a problem.
Yeah, so I have a tear in my hip, and I was not expecting to hear that because I have no hip pain. I had back pain, and I had some pain going down into my groin, but pain in my actual hip, I wasn't feeling. And she's like, nope, that's why. Because again, structurally, your hip isn't able to function the way that it needs to. That's why you're getting pain in those other regions.
Your muscles are having to compensate.
Exactly, those muscles are having to compensate.
Having to work harder. See, that's a good point. Yes. Having to work harder because they're trying to protect the injured joint.
Exactly. And that's why everything, and I was like, oh, so that's why I feel like I can't throw my kicks correctly. I can't because I physically cannot turn my hip the way that I need to. So after, having a good pity party for a while and feeling bad that I've put...
There was probably no whining.
Probably none. What kind of whining? There was a lot of whining. A lot of whining.
W-H-I and W-I.
Anyone who knows me knows exercise is a huge part of my life. So the thought of not being able to do it was truly, physically and emotionally, I knew it was not going to be good for me. But again, realizing we'd gotten to the root of the cause, we had a plan, and that ultimately I needed that time to heal. And actually, my trainer handled it much better than I did. Call him all upset that, this means I'm not gonna be able to train for, at least 4 to 5 weeks. And he's It's like, well, then we don't train for 4 to 5 weeks. You have to rest. You have to heal. And, he's absolutely right, because at the end of the day, it's one thing to push through. He's like, you're not stopping because you're tired. You're not stopping because
you're
you just
whip.
Yeah, exactly. Like because you want to quit. It's you're stopping because your body is telling you, okay, you have to stop. You have to let this heal. Like, we'll get back to it when you can get back to it. And actually, I thought it was really funny, because then he even said, he's like, yeah, you let this heal, and then something else will go wrong, and then we'll let that heal. Love kickboxing, love Muay Thai, but it's not easy on the body. So that's my little disclaimer for anyone who's like, oh, that sounds fun. But yeah, it truly is. It was a good reminder for myself of something that I preach all the time, which is listening to your body, giving yourself that rest and recovery time, and that you can't push through. Yes, you can push through mental blocks, you can push through, some of those things, but, physically, when your body is dealing with that, you have to give it that time, and you have to listen to it. So I had some, actually really cool, they're called PRP, platelet-rich plasma injection. So basically inject my own plasma into the joint to help promote healing. So again, amazing body self-healing. So taking my own plasma, which plasma is very rich and a big part of that healing process. And putting it into an area that doesn't get that blood flow, so that it can get that blood flow and help repair the joint that is damaged. Yeah,
I think it's important to understand. It does. It's just very minimal. So when you get tears in those tendons and ligaments, that's why a lot of people say, once you have a tear in the disc, you can't heal the disc. It's like you can, it's just, but again, it takes rest.
It's not getting the blood flow that a major muscle
that a cut
or your skin is.
Exactly.
Those joints don't get quite the blood supply. So now I am literally in the rest and healing phase, and I've actually been handling it better than I thought I would, but it's been a good, very humbling reminder that the body, it is designed beautifully to handle a lot, but it can only handle so much, and it needs to be given that time to do what I know it's able to do. And sometimes the best thing that you can do as an athlete is take that time to rest. And it's the hardest thing, especially when you're in a training mindset, especially when you're training for an event. I mean, the last thing you want to do is stop, but that's sometimes exactly what you need, especially if it's directly impacting your day-to-day life and impacting your training, and if it's going to impact your long-term quality of life.
So that's what I want to bring that up, because that is key to what you just said. You think of someone, like we're in Pittsburgh, so let's bring up Ben Roethlisberger, who just recently retired, but my goodness, the man went through countless injuries. If you don't know, Ben Roethlisberger was the star quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last almost 20 years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's almost I remember. Years. Yeah, I was gonna say I remember when
I was in college, and Erin actually bought me. I was in high school. Yeah, Erin bought me his jersey, and she's like, "I think this guy's gonna be around for a while."
Well, you got your money's
She was
worth.
right. I still have the jersey in my closet, and I will continue to wear it. But anyway, countless injuries throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean,
when you have a major athlete like that, they're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think you make that yet in Muay Thai.
Not so much. Not so
Something tells me she wouldn't be working for us if she was making that. I hope she would, but probably not. I'd come work for her. Anyway, when you have a major athlete that's getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars like that, they get injured. And you're done. You're done for the next 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the type and severity of injury. There are lots of things you can do. And that's the other thing I want to bring up. All those things that you were doing up until this recent, diagnosis and analysis, and the plan to do the PRP, all of those things, it doesn't make them wrong. Yeah. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't mean they are going to assist and help in the healing recovery process.
They're probably the reason I even lasted as long as I did.
Exactly. And that's where, a lot of us, we get that medicine mindset, right? Where it's like, there has to be a single solution to this issue. And that's not the case. In the majority of health challenges, that is just not the case. It's not A plus B equals C. You know, I always tell people A plus B equals C through Z.
Yeah,
because
depending on who you are in the situation.
Correct. And so it's like, it doesn't make any of those other things wrong.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make any of those other things inferior. But it's like you needed that additional ingredient to help. And again, you know, at the end of the day, if you did just take 6 weeks off and didn't do anything, you know, your hip may have been able to heal, but this is going to be that additional, you know, factor to help get that in there, in addition to the rest, to truly allow that tear to heal. And again, then it's the long-term investment, right? If you're a $100 million athlete, you know, taking 4 weeks off, yeah, it might suck for that season. It might suck for the rest of the team. But, you know, guess what? This is a, 20-year investment, hopefully, exactly. 10, 20-year investment. So it's like, if we look at that in our own lives, you know, people get so fired up and they get so frustrated. Like, oh, I was doing so good. You know, I've been working out for this many weeks. And it's like they get frustrated to take 4 to 6 weeks off. And it's like, dude, that's an eye blink in the course of your 90, year life. It's okay to take that time off. I think, honestly, it's funny because, like, I'll admit that I have not been the best with, my exercise routine. Probably, starting 2020 pandemic, and me, like many other people, have used that as an excuse. A lot of people use that as an excuse to get in shape. I use it as an excuse to get out of shape, or a different shape, I should say. I was like, I'm in shape, but round is a shape.
I became a more round.
Exactly. But anyway, but it's funny because, when I train, and I'm doing a lot of, like shoulder and, chest workouts and back, it's funny because, like, my lower neck and my shoulder are probably back from, when I was throwing in high school, discus and shot put, I have some, damage in there. I had a couple car accidents in my, younger career back in my 20s, back to back. So I know I have some damage in the spine. So it's like, when I work out hard, I get just this like chronic, again, it's not debilitating, kind of like you mentioned with your injury. It's not debilitating. I can keep going, but it's like just this nagging, achiness in the lower part of my neck and upper back. As I transition and, have not been the best with my lifting routine, it's funny because that has completely gone away. Like, I don't get this nagging achiness in my lower neck. I'm like, hey, this is kind of nice. Like, do I want to continue? Do I want to go back to working out? Or do I like the freedom of motion that my neck has, and I don't have this nagging achiness? So, we get frustrated. At the end of the day, we get frustrated sometimes as humans because we put these self-limiting, goals in our mind. And it's like, hey, with training, it's like, I got to train. I'm going to get ready for this fight. Well, you did that on your own. It's like you're not going to get paid for this fight, but you put this goal. And again, it's good to set goals. I'm not dismissing that at all, but it's okay to change that.
Yes.
Adaptation is the key. I always say adaptation is the simplest definition of health. And so, if you set a goal, you have to understand that there are circumstances that may change that would change your ability to achieve that goal, change the timeline, change up how you're going to achieve that. Ultimately, maybe even change the fact of, are you going to continue, towards that goal? So it's like, it goes back to listening, right? Listening to our own bodies, listening to the way that we're, training, the way that we're going about our day-to-day life. It's so important to listen to that and not look at it as failure, but look at it as a change of direction, which is not a bad thing. And in your circumstance, I think you see, it's frustrating, but I can't tell you the number of times Erin and I have set goals for, our business, and over the last, the last decade that we've been in business. We're having a party coming up, by the way.
Yes,
fantastic. A couple weeks away from our 10-year anniversary party. We technically already celebrated it back in January, but yeah, it's like, can't tell you the number of times we set a goal, but it's like, circumstances change. We had 3 kids in that timeline, and circumstances change, and that's okay. It's just a matter of a change in priority. So if we can start taking the pressure off of ourselves and like thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure because I have to change, I can't continue to work towards my goal the way I expected to. You can still work towards it. It might just change the timeline. It might change the way that it looks and how you get there. So it's just, I think it's so important to recognize that change is not a bad thing.
No.
It's a necessary part of life that, the better you can, again, as I said in the beginning, align with the way that your body is designed to heal and be healthy, the better you can align yourself with that and recognize that change and adaptation are going to be a part of that process, the easier it is to come to recognition and acceptance of that change.
Absolutely. And I think that you brought up, the cut analogy at the beginning. If you get a cut, it's going to heal. And eventually, if it's a really bad cut, you might have a scar. But for, minor cuts, it'll heal and you'll never know what happened. But I think about, all the time, it's, but what if you don't let it heal? So, you think about, you get cuts in places, those nagging places, like you get them on your hand or on a joint that you're bending a lot, or, I think about, I get them on my feet, and so they're constantly getting, broken back open, and it's just going to keep delaying that time that it heals, and yes, eventually it will, but it would heal a lot faster if you just, like we said, the wounded animal, if you just truly laid off it, let it completely heal. And so sometimes we constantly fight what our body knows it needs. Yes. We do it, we talk about all the time with, being sick.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, just that constant, I have to push through.
Yeah.
There's a reason you feel tired and run down when you're sick, because that's what your body is telling you. I need sleep. I need to
water.
Yes, I need water and sleep, and then I will heal myself. But instead, no. What do? We pop Dayquil and
NyQuil.
And go look at the Dayquil commercials. They literally are advertising, take this so that you can push through and go about your day. That's what the commercials literally say.
Yeah, rather than taking 24 hours to just sleep.
Yes, to sleep it off.
Okay, and again, people look at that as like, oh, I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. You're doing what I use the example. I went to a friend's bachelor party recently, and it's like I came back on the red-eye flight again. Yes, my team was like,
didn't listen to me.
What the hell are you doing, Dr. Dan? You're literally coming back on a red-eye flight. I was coming back. We went Thursday to Sunday. We came back on a red-eye flight into Monday morning. And again, me being the stubborn human being,
I can do it.
I'm gonna push through my schedule, and I don't want to reschedule my whole Monday, which is one of our busiest days of the week. So I came back. I got in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. My flight landed. I ran home. I showered. I said hi to my family, and literally a half hour later I ran back out the door to get to the office to start my day at 7:45. And by the time I got to the end of that day, my immune system was so shot and run down from the weekend and run down from the flight and the change in time zone that I got a virus and I wasn't able to overcome immediately. Usually I'm really quick to recover. So it put me down, and I literally could not get out of bed on Tuesday. So again, some people would say, oh, I'll be fine, and they pop something and they're going to get up and keep going. But again, I set my schedule up accordingly in the week. This is what I love about my schedule. It's like, we have a couple breaks throughout the week. We have longer lunches, and they do this in Europe too. It's like they take really long lunches from their morning to their afternoon. This 4-day work week is becoming very popular. It's like
we have a long day on Monday, but then Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday is a rest day, and then we go all day Wednesday, and then we get a half day Thursday, Friday. And again, it's not that we're not doing stuff when we're not in the office.
We're doing this. We're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing podcasts. We're doing other marketing and planning and catch up on paperwork and. No, we don't do paperwork anymore, but but anyway, I digress. But yeah, it's like we build these rest times, these down times into our week because we understand that's natural, that's normal. Heck, if our creator can, rest on the seventh day, 6 days of creation and then rest on the seventh day, I think we can take a rest a little bit throughout the week. I probably need a little more than that.
Well, I think the popping the medication and kind of pushing through thing goes perfectly into, something else we were talking about this week we were seeing with some patients, which is this idea of feeling versus, again, actually healing. Yeah. And again, we live in this world where we want to feel better. Yeah. We want to, which is fair. Sure. I mean, no one wants to be in pain. No one wants to, we get that. But, sometimes there's this disconnect between, people will say, like, when am I going to, when am I going to feel better? When am I going to, when am I going to feel better? When am I going to be better? And I think that's where, I think that's a really important thing to talk about. Again, that the difference between that acute feeling better,
quote unquote,
which again, there's lots of ways to feel better. You know, you can have a glass of wine and feel better. You can have
drink a half a bottle of whiskey. You'll feel fantastic.
You will have no pain
for an hour or two. You'll wake up in pain the next day.
Yeah, and same with we were talking about with athletes. You know, you can. That is the one thing I will say. I do not take pain meds. I will not take. You know, I won't take pain meds to push through an injury because I don't want. Again, I want to listen. I want to know what hurts. I don't want to dull that. I want to listen to my body and know what areas to ice, what areas to massage, what areas to, you know, do these things that I do. And that's how I finally figured this out, because no matter what I did, there was that nagging spot that would not go away. So I'm like, okay, something else. Yeah,
it's something.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. If I had just been taking pain meds, I mean, maybe that would have helped, but then
helped with the pain.
It would help me feel better.
Correct.
It would not have helped the functionality of my hip.
Correct. To the point of doing long-term damage. Going back to the discussion of the $100 million athlete, right? The long-term investment. You know, you're worth. Every one of us is worth $100 million. You know, over the course of our lifetime. Like, you know, our bodies are. I mean, these are. You know, we get one body. Yeah. Now again, it regenerates every moment of every day, which is fantastic. But if you don't give it the time to rest and recuperate, then you're never going to fully recover, which goes to the long-term investment. And again, popping these pain medications, young athletes, you know, that you know, you start in high school, you know, start in middle school, high school, like, oh honey, you know, just take a pain medication and push through it. And it's like, and by the time you're 30, you have a joint.
We grew up with it. Medicine cabinet full of what? You know, Tylenol, Advil, ibuprofen, whatever you name it, it was there. I mean, it was got a headache, pop a pill, got ache and pain, pop a pill.
And how many of us, and again, this is not to be judgmental, but I can't tell you the number of people that, you know, what do? They walk around, women and, you know, men, but women especially, you know, they walk around with the Tylenol or the Advil in their purse. Yeah. And it's like, I haven't taken a Tylenol or Advil in well over a decade since I've been, you know, probably college. You know, my undergrad degree was probably the last time I took it, because again, I didn't truly understand the full function of, you know, what was going on in my body, and understanding that, again, I was just masking the symptom. Okay. So again, you do that now and again, you know, maybe once a year. Like, you know, I just had a patient came in last night, and she's like, she had a headache that she could not get rid of because she actually ended up being diagnosed with COVID, and you know, and just had one of those headaches, and it was just so much congestion that she could, I mean, to the point that she thought she was having a stroke. Oh, jeez. And Vicodin, you know, she had some Vicodin from a previous injury, and again, people just like have this stuff, you know, in their closet, like they just keep from previous, you know, injuries, and it's like, you know, so she just had some. Vicodin didn't touch the headache. And, you know, when you look at this, and I don't say this to be judgmental. I don't say this to brag because I'm like, oh, I haven't taken one, you know, in over a decade. But I say this as an awareness. Like, when you take a medication, the reality is you are masking, especially when you're taking a pain medication or an anti-inflammatory medication, you are truly masking the condition that your body is trying to signal and warn you about. So I have not taken that, even if I, you know, have a little bit too much to drink.
And that's what I was going to say. It's not to say you haven't had a headache in 10 years.
Absolutely not. I've had a headache. I've had plenty of them. It's I don't get them all the time, but it's like, I know why.
Exactly. That's
you know, it's like, I have a little too much to drink.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's my thing. It's like, okay, wait, did I have enough water? Okay, drink some water. Still, okay, do I need an adjustment? Do I need, what is?
Yeah, it's like, a self-assessment, and the more you can listen to your body's signals, the better chance you have of getting to the correct analysis and getting to the correct decision. And again, very rarely is it a 1 + 1 = 2. It's, you know, it's a + B = C through Z. It's like, okay, what do I need to help reassess to get myself back on track? That example of Las Vegas. You know, I got back, I worked all day Monday, I pushed myself a little too hard. I literally could not get out of bed. Yeah. And, you know, had I taken something, I probably could have gotten up and functioned a little bit. But to what extent? Exactly. The rest of the week, I may have been down. Yep. I was down for 24 hours. I was back to work, regular day, Wednesday, I was ready to go. You know, was I still a little bit run down? Probably, yeah. I was probably 85%.
Probably still some jet lag still, too.
Yeah, I was probably 85%. But again, it's like, you know, if you actually listen to the body and just say, you know, hey, I'm going to take a day.
Well, and that's, even when I was getting this injection, she's going over everything. She's like, okay, so no NSAIDs for a week, no anti-inflammatories. I was like, I don't take them anyway. Again, couldn't tell you the last time I took any of that stuff. She's like, okay, good. And she's like, well, you can take Tylenol because you're going to be sore after the injection. I was like, okay, whatever. And she's like, no, you're going to be sore, get some Tylenol, just kind of take it on a regular basis. So I went and I bought like the smallest bottle of Tylenol. It's still sitting in my purse. Never opened it. I shouldn't have even got it because I didn't.
You knew. You were going to take it.
Was I sore? Yeah, I was very sore. I had a needle shoved into my back. It turns out that's that's sore. It turns out that makes you a little sore, but it's my back and my groin. It was not pleasant. But then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, again, pain is there for a reason. Pain is telling us something. So I'm like, if I take Tylenol, because she also told me, well, as far as what you're able to do that first week, just rest and listen to your body. So I'm like, well, then why am I going to take Tylenol to numb the pain that's telling me what I shouldn't be doing? If I'm sitting in a certain position or doing a certain thing and it's hurting, then that's my body telling me don't do that. So why would I take something that's going to numb that and then possibly do something that's going to delay my recovery because I pushed through it? So, it turned out like being on my feet for too long was an issue, and I was able to figure that out because it started to hurt, so I would go sit.
Surprise.
Just things like that. Whereas if you're taking those medications that you said mask the symptoms, then you're not really getting to the root of the issue. You're pushing through and you're possibly making, and not even to mention all the other things those medicines do to your body.
Yeah, just from a biochemical stress.
But just as far as pushing through.
And creating long-term damage to a joint, to a muscle, to an injury that, you go from an acute situation now becomes a very chronic and to the point where you may not be able to recover.
Or get back to where you want to be.
Correct.
But I think if you want to touch on quickly, which we talk about in the office a lot, this idea between, again, pain and what we feel versus the actual functionality and what we're trying to correct, because I think, again, there's sometimes that it takes a while to kind of understand that the difference between feeling better and healing and functioning better, they're two different.
And again, I go back to what I said earlier about what you mentioned, like I was doing chiropractic, I was doing massage, I was ice bath,
you kept doing X-rays on me, and you're like, nothing's wrong.
Nothing's showing up on my end. It's like, so, and again,
it's making me feel crazy too, by the way.
Correct. And there are people who we have worked with who literally have been dismissed by medical professionals saying this is a mental emotional problem because we can't find anything. And it's just because, and again, there are times when mental emotional problems are shadowing everything else, but for someone who has a healthy assessment of where they're at, then just dismissing them as mental emotional, I think is a very disservice to humanity and specifically the individual that's going through that. It's like, let's dig a little bit deeper, and that's where I always say medicine versus true health professionals. And I say that
healthcare versus
sick care, right? Medicine really.
That's another chapter in the book.
How about that? That's 3 now. We had to wait a little bit for that reference, but healthcare versus sick care. We look at, again, trying to get to the underlying cause of a health challenge versus just masking and keeping you managing the condition with medication, managing with medication. And I talk about that a lot. So when we look at this, I always tell someone, when they're starting care or if they choose to start care, there's 4 goals that we look at. Number 1, I want you to feel better. Number 2, I want to prevent future problems from happening or current problems from getting worse. Number 3, I want to reverse the effects of the aging process. And really what that means is I want you to age gracefully, not at an accelerated pace. Mm-hmm. And number 4, those first 3 are going to lead to you living your best quality of life. So the feeling better versus healing functioning better, that's the difference. And so again, chiropractic, massage, when you look at these health promotion, these injections and rest and recovery, those will never beat medication when it comes to instant gratification. Medicine will always win. And that's ultimately why I think medicine has become the gold standard, because it's instant gratification. I have a pain, I have this going on, you can take this medication and that symptom will go away, okay? Or be significantly reduced. That is not the same as true healing and function. And so at the end of the day, both categories are, health profession versus, sick care intervention. Both of us, have our, have the ability to help someone.
Help you feel better. But you have to understand that the feeling better in terms of the masking and medical management is not the same thing and will never be equal to, the health promotion of listening to your body and working with and aligning with the natural, normal course of healing, which takes time, which is the principle we mentioned at the very beginning. And that's what I think it's a great analogy is, I'm a personal trainer, and so working with clients on, increasing their ability to exercise, and people come in and, if you ever started a new exercise program, it hurts. Yeah, that's what you were just talking about when your neck hurts, when I'm training, I mean, God, you're always like, what? I'm like, everything hurts. Everything hurts all the time. What are you talking about? But what happens is, again, as you get stronger, it'll hurt less. Yeah. And as you actually get stronger, your body is able to function better. Yeah. But again, it hurts to get it hurts initially, and so that's what sometimes people come in and they want. Yes. I don't know where that came from. But they're used to that instant gratification. I want to feel better, and and you might feel better initially, but again, it's going to take time to get to the point that you're feeling better because we've corrected the problem.
Not because we're masking it.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's absolutely, and that's one of the most frustrating things as a healthcare professional. And again, someone who cares, right? We both have big hearts. Of course, we don't want you to be. Of course, we don't want you to be in pain.
Yeah, I was dang near in tears the other day when we had someone in there and dealing with so much, and it's
and of course we don't want you to be in pain, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, biochemically. I don't want you to be in pain, but also one of the most difficult things that we have to do as true health promoters is that we have to hold people's hands and get them out of the myths and misconceptions that medicine is going to help heal them. There's actually a quote, I forget, it was a natural health provider or something, but again, it actually might just be kind of like a general principle, but when you take medication, you have to heal twice. Once from the medication that you just took, and a second time from the original illness, and so helping people understand that we are not the instant gratification. And that is one of the most frustrating things, that in conversations that I have to have with patients, is that, look, if you just want to feel better, there's 100 ways that you can do it easier than what I'm going to do. Now, again, we get those miraculous cases. You give them their adjustment and boom, it changes their world. But in the majority of cases, I would say, there has been some stress that has been going on for years, if not decades, that takes time to unwind. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel, any better, after a first or a couple visits or a couple weeks. You'll feel some difference, but it might not be the miraculous instant gratification that you're going to get with a medication. And again, I always tell people, if you take away the medication that you're taking, are you going to feel better? No, it'll come back. Exactly. So we're trying to get to the underlying cause, and again, usually it's multi-tier. Usually there's restriction and misalignment of the spine, which is impacting the nervous system. A lot of times there can be biochemical toxicity, whether from medication that you're taking or lifestyle or food in our diet. There can be sedentary lifestyle, or again, training too much in the wrong ways. And poor activation of musculature, mental, emotional stress, finances, husband, significant other relationships, children, again, the list goes on and on and on. So when we look at the big picture, we're trying to get to the underlying cause. And what's nice about what we do as a team is we're going to continue to rule out, like, okay, we got the chiropractic, we got the spine moving better, we got the nervous system functioning better. Okay, so what's next? All right, well, biochemical. Now we got to look at what supplements you take. We just had a patient the other day. It's like he's still in pain. He's getting great changes, objectively, but subjectively, he's still not quite feeling better. So now let's look at the supplements you're on. Oh crap! You just took a picture of a bunch of supplements, and those supplements are garbage. Being nice about it. It's just like, there's something, you get what you pay for when it comes to quality of healthcare. And it's like, you're just going to get stuff off the big box store and, pay the least amount of money for it. You're going to get poor quality results. Yeah. And so, having that conversation with people can be very, very difficult, but it can be very rewarding. And again, we do that day in and day out of the office. And at the end of the day, healing takes time, and we understand that you can't take 6 weeks off and just not do anything.
Yes.
But you have to understand that you as an individual, don't put the limitation on yourself, like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure because I'm not doing things the way that I feel like my friends, my relatives, and my coworkers are. So you've got to put, take off the self-limiting beliefs of, oh my gosh, if I'm not doing this at this rate, I'm a failure, because that's not true.
Yeah, you can't compare yourself to anybody.
Yeah, you have to understand that you're trying to align yourself with the natural, God-given healing laws of nature, and the more you align yourself with that, the better you're going to help, not just with the immediate problem, but the long-term health and facilitation and healing of your body. And I think there was a third point in there, but probably slipping my mind at this point.
Well, I think at the end of the day, again, you have to advocate for your health and your healing, because the world we live in, unfortunately, is not going to promote it. It's going to want you to keep pushing through. There's, this idea of you can do more, you should always be more, you can always do better, blah, blah, and not to say that you can't.
Sure.
You can't. I'm not saying don't have goals, don't push to get better, but at the end of the day, it's okay to say, to take a look at your life and figure out what is causing I quit a job because it was causing me such mental, emotional, and physical distress that,
and you've helped other people.
I was going to say it.
Because you've been through it now. Yeah. And you know that it's okay.
And again, it's like I work with these clients where they're coming in and week out, and they're like, I'm still not motivated to exercise. I'm still not motivated to eat right. And we spend our entire session of them complaining about their job. And I'm sitting there going,
I think I found the problem.
I was like, I don't know, what else I think I know what the issue is. And until you find a way to either cope with the stressful job or change the stressful job, then you're not going to benefit from the other things that we're talking about, because you're not going to be in a state that you're in a state of healing, and you're in a state, when you're in that constant state of chronic stress, which we've talked about in other episodes, that directly impacts that state of healing. So you got to get to the point that you listen to your body, that if you need some time off, mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, you need to advocate for yourself, and you need to take it. And that's
awesome.
That's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I got to say about that. 50 minutes later. Again, Angela, thank you so much for sharing that testimony.
Of course, always happy to share. Because again, I want people to know that we go through. We're not sitting up here on a pedestal. We are
horse.
Yes, exactly. We're living our lives the same as you. We go through the same exact struggles that we see our patients go through. So I'm always happy to share our personal experiences, because I want you to know that it's, we're dealing with it too. We're human.
Yes, exactly.
we are not above anybody. We're just
not above the laws of nature.
We're just right there with you guys. So always happy to share my experiences and struggles with you guys, and hopefully it can help inspire other people to take a look and do what they need to do.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I am Dr. Dan with my co-host
Angela, Turo Family Chiropractic.
Yes, and if any of this resonated with you, check us out on Turo, Turo, familychiropractic.com. And if you are not in our immediate area that we can help you out, we are always happy to help you find someone who has the same philosophical views or philosophy as us to help you get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. This is another What the Health episode. Please continue to check in and stop by for our next one, and we will see you then.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.